Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Guys Who Stare at Stats. I'm Cade Kennedy alongside Connor Gray. Connor, we have so much to talk about today. It has been a very busy time just in general with sports. We have so much going on. It is a wonderful time of the year. We've got NBA stuff, we've got NHL, we've got college baseball, softball, college football drama, whatever you want to call it. Mm-hmm. We have everything going on.
Yep.
So as I welcome you into the show, Connor, first of all, as always, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. Pretty much just been taking care of my parents' dogs for the most part, but
There you go.
overall, just kind of just waiting for this show to happen. Also trying to recover from a workout.
Yeah, that works too. There's nothing wrong with taking care of dogs, even if they do hate me, I'm pretty sure.
They don't.
That is an off-screen joke, but they do hate me. I think they hate everyone.
They don't hate you.
I think they hate everyone.
No, they don't.
But speaking of things that are hateful, the Phoenix Suns organization, potentially, we don't know. They might be hateful because DeAndre Ayton, the rumors keep building and going that he wants out of there. He does not get along with Monty Williams. Bleacher Report publishing an article, a little bit earlier today, Jake Fisher reporting that if you go through the article, Phoenix balked last offseason at a 5-year, $170 million contract for DeAndre Ayton. And with the way things are going with Phoenix, there's a very real possibility he does not come back. I would not be surprised if we see a sign and trade with Ayton. Multiple teams point out to Charlotte has a clear hole at center. San Antonio does. Atlanta, Detroit, Portland. There are so many possibilities DeAndre Ayton could go to. I really don't know where he would go. I mean, Dallas is a possibility. Oklahoma City's a possibility. There's a lot of teams on the table here for Ayton, and I'm really not shocked that Phoenix would let him go. I mean, you could do whatever you want. JaVale McGee and Bismack Biyombo are pretty decent at what they do, and I mean, they're just role player centers, but there were times where Phoenix looked better with them in than with Ayton in.
Well, I think it mainly just came down to they weren't utilizing Ayton properly. It feels like a lot of the play calls just went away from him instead of using, especially in that series against Dallas. It's like he has a size advantage on all the Dallas players. The fact that you don't take advantage of that is just why.
The only thing I can think of is because that offense is built around Devin Booker and Chris Paul more. That's built around. It's more of a shooter's offense, but you have DeAndre Ayton.
You have to make an adjustment to where you gotta utilize your third best player, arguably your third best player.
Yeah.
I mean by arguably, I mean like I don't know if he's like one, two, or three. You can interchange.
It depends on the day. It's about like, where most teams are.
Ayton was a key player last year for their playoff run. The fact that they're not utilizing him, they actually really didn't utilize him that much this season kind of shows they don't really care to have him.
Yeah, I mean I really don't understand what the whole deal there is, but that was one of the big stories Zach LaVine also talked about in this article. I think they're mainly expecting him to stay in Chicago.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think we both think he's going to more likely stay.
Yeah, I mean, the rumor was today was someone asked him about, like, oh, what do you think about playing for the Lakers? And he was like, yeah, I liked them growing up. It's like a lot of kids did. That doesn't really mean anything.
Yeah, it doesn't mean anything. He more likely is probably, like, with the way things are going with the current group in Chicago, they're more likely to just try to keep any of their better prospects together.
Yeah, but that wraps up NBA offseason in the postseason because the offseason never sleeps in the NBA.
No.
There is truly no season. It is all offseason with a championship occasionally sprinkled in. But we've got to get to some college football news. This happened yesterday. Pete Thamel of ESPN. Spring meetings are coming up for all the conferences in college football. And the SEC, this is something I had heard rumblings about. This is something they might do. I think it would be really neat. I don't think it would be. No. It's not realistic at all.
No, it's
it would
not
be really
happen.
fun to see happen.
It's done.
But the SEC staging its own pretty much postseason tournament and calling it a college football playoff. This is kind of the further realization that it's the Big Ten versus the SEC now. We're at the end game of college football as we know it. I think it's slowly going to turn into who picks up allies where, and we're going to get kind of the older system back where the Big Ten's going to say they have the best conference and Fox is going to support the Big Ten. ESPN has the SEC properties. They're going to say, no, SEC's the best. And we're just going to have this further division between the two sides.
You're both overrated conferences with only at most 4 combined really great teams that somehow mean your conference is great. I'm sorry, but it's like what they're going to do is not going to ever happen. It's just it's too unrealistic. You're more likely either the entire FBS breaks away from the NCAA, that could be a possibility, which not very likely also, or you just stick with what you have right now. There's no point in trying to do something because you're just basically going to claim yourself you're a champion, despite the fact, no, you're not.
Yeah, I mean, the SEC, I would say they have more leverage than the Big Ten does.
If you're talking about, teams, yeah.
Because, I mean, you can't have the playoff without the SEC champion. They've literally won the thing more than anybody else in the past 2 decades. But, I mean, this is pretty much just going to be my conference is better than your conference, just to another level.
Yep.
Which I'm excited to see how this happens when OU and Texas join. I'm sure it'll only get worse from there. So we're in full drama mode in the SEC. It is. There were people throwing out random accusations today of random other stuff. A&M and Texas fans are already getting into it. It's a wonderful time.
When are those 2 schools not getting into it?
No, but I mean, they're trying to accuse each other of cheating. It's great. I love it. It's the dumbest thing.
They've been doing it even before.
I mean, they both cheat. I mean, let's be honest. Nearly everyone in college football cheats. If you think your program doesn't cheat, you're Kansas. Because if you're cheating and you still win 1 game, what are you doing? Cheat harder. Everyone's got to get their bagmen. We all know they exist. But I really don't know about the future of college football. It is one of those things that I really want to see it continue the way it is. I think the SEC was right in that we should have a 12-team playoff. The Big Ten wanted an 8-team playoff. I think the Big Ten's, personally, I see it more as the Big Ten's problem because they wanted to pretty much keep it just a Power 5 only thing. The SEC was willing to open the door to 12, but they viewed it as the Big Ten, Pac-12, ACC alliance that does nothing, viewed it as, okay, well, if you do that, you're going to let 4 SEC teams in it. We don't want that.
That's not.
If you're saying if you say Ohio State can't beat Texas A&M, what are you scared of?
It's
Texas A&M.
It's here's the thing. How about you be better than those teams? You won't have to worry about the 4 SEC schools getting in. More likely, what's going to happen with that 12-team playoff is that the Power 5 are not going to get on. Champions are going to get automatic bids, maybe depending on how they want to do it, or maybe just do top 12 teams.
Yeah,
who knows?
I really don't know. And then the article goes on to mention more kind of SEC scheduling details that they're looking at and a whole bunch of other fun stuff. But we'll get to that when we get to that because we're not going to debate 1-7 versus 2-7. We're not going to talk about that. No. We'll talk about that later on down the road when something gets announced. But going all the way back to Thursday night game in the NBA, it has been a lot of blowouts. So many blowouts.
Mm-hmm.
Thursday night, we went off the air saying, Boston, Miami, you never know. Boston ends up getting a 127-102, just absolute demolition of Miami. Jason Tatum plays well. The whole Heat organization they just couldn't get it together, which was really weird to see after that game 1. Then you get to game 2 of Golden State, Dallas. Dallas up 19 at the half, everything going well, and then the threes that were going in and out, miss. Dallas had 3 points in 8 minutes at one point. It was ridiculous.
And they also kept driving to the hoop when they didn't really need to.
Yeah, it was a lot of just randomness. Why are we going away from a game plan that's been working? Also, they can't make threes now. Golden State slowly comes back the entire third quarter and then goes off for a 43-point fourth quarter. There's nothing you can do about that. When Golden State can run the same play 8 times in a row and Dallas can't figure it out because someone is too slow on defense every single time, you're not going to win a whole lot of games.
Nope. And it's really showing right now.
And then Saturday night, Miami-Boston, the only competitive game of the series so far. Miami gets a 109-103 win. Bam Adebayo goes off, dropping 31. Jaylen Brown tried to rally the Celtics back with 40, but just could not get it, the comeback. I thought this was a really fun game to watch. Bam Adebayo leading the team in points, rebounds, assists, steals, and blocks. We haven't seen someone do that since Akeem Olajuwon.
Well, it's also nice to see someone else other than Jimmy Butler carrying the load.
Yeah, well, I mean, that had to happen when Butler went down in the second half, but it was nice seeing Miami's role players and other starters step up. And then Sunday night, Game 3, Golden State, Dallas, Mavs playing a little bit better. 109-100 was the score there. I was dumbfounded by this result because losing at Golden State, I can expect. Blowing a 19-point lead to them, a little bit understandable given the circumstances.
No excuse, though.
A little bit because Dallas doesn't play well on the road. If it had been the reverse, I would have expected that a little bit more. But at the same time, you don't go 0 for 10 shooting at home. Like, Reggie Bullock played terrible. Maxi Kleber just doesn't want to shoot now. His confidence is just shattered. Dwight Powell continues to be worthless except for, like, one good play a game. Dorian Finney-Smith hit, like, 1-3 the entire game. It boggles the mind how one guy can play so well and just carry an entire team to a Western Conference final. We saw LeBron do it for years, his first stint in Cleveland. We've seen so many people do it before, and now Luka's the next guy in that line to do so.
Well, Luke, one thing is what they're going to need to do is they need to find big talent. They need to find guys who are going to step up because the current roster they have right now, they're not working. I mean, I know one of your better players is injured, right?
Yes. Yeah, Tim Hardaway Jr.
That's understandable, but everyone else has got to step up where they're needed, and the fact that most of them are just not doing it, that really is killing it. I mean, the series Golden State should be up 2-1 right now, or at most Dallas probably could be up 2-1. Instead, they're down 3-0 because they blew a 19-point lead because they forgot how to shoot the ball. And they went away from a game plan that was working. And then I really don't understand what Dallas was doing half the time in Game 3. All knows, I know we're going to get to that game, but just like looks like it's going to be curtains for the Mavs.
I mean, more than likely it will. I'm just happy they made it this far. I mean, does it irritate me they've lost the way they have? Absolutely.
Well,
absolutely, it irritates me.
You take this possible. Maybe who knows? They might somehow just avoid a sweep, but it's like they lose now. You gotta. Mark Cuban's got to go. Mark Cuban and company got to go into the offseason thinking, okay, next year championship or bust.
I mean, I wouldn't say championship or bust. I'd say you got to get back here. My goal is
that's pretty much the same thing.
I mean, you got to be. You proved you can be proved you can be there. You're a guy or two away. Despite all your faults and injuries and Porzingis trades and everything that's happened for Dallas, you're here. The Warriors aren't going to be here forever. And you got to be ready for when the Grizzlies and other teams come at you. But my goodness, it is so painful the way they've lost these games for me as a Dallas fan. It is just, I don't understand it. I don't understand why people can't shoot that could shoot earlier, whether it be road or away. And then you get people saying Luka Doncic, I don't understand where this narrative is coming from, that Luka Doncic makes his teammates worse. I don't understand that narrative at all, but people are trying. It's the same people who try to get everyone to New York or L.A. It's the same people like, oh, well, Luka Doncic needs to be traded to the Lakers. It's like, how? Explain. Explain the pieces.
Mark isn't going to let that happen.
I mean, that'll never happen in a million years. Luke would have to demand his way out, and I don't see that happening.
And it's like,
I've
Dallas
seen people already say that, and I'm just like,
Dallas,
why?
Dallas is going to be giving him max contracts for the rest of his career until he starts faltering talent-wise, which I just don't see happening until he's like maybe 36, and that's over about a decade long.
That's 13 years away.
Yeah, so he's gonna have max contracts. He's gonna be set for life in Dallas.
Yeah.
The issue is you got to bring talent around him, and that's what he's missing. Like, obviously, it's pretty obvious he carried the team here.
Yeah, I mean, he's carried him. The Utah series was the only one he didn't carry him, and I mean that's probably that was more of an actual team effort where everyone showed up.
Well, it's like
because everyone had to.
Everyone else had to show up to play, but Utah just was not a cohesive unit. I mean, you have Donovan Mitchell and Gobert just not working together. Mm-hmm. So obviously you got to figure out what to do next with that.
And then Game 4 once again in the Boston Garden. Celtics get a 102-82 win. I saw a funny stat today that the last time the Heat, NBA starting five, scored as many points as the Heat bench did. You want to guess the year? You want to take a wild guess what
2008?
event? You want to take a wild guess what event was happening? World War II was happening. Victor Oladipo had 23 points. That's more than all the Heat starters combined. They had 18.
Jesus.
My gosh, I watched about one quarter of this game, and I was like, nope. The Blues are losing 3-1, but I'd still rather watch that because they at least give me hope for the future that something might actually happen in that game.
Yeah.
This was pitiful. And, I mean, I've seen people saying, hey, everyone is injured, and I understand that. But at the same time, gosh dang it, why couldn't Dallas play one of these two? Why can we not do that? That's what makes me feel mad as a Mavs fan. Is Golden State's going to sweep whoever they get, it feels like. Like, if they...
Maybe.
I mean, obviously, Golden State could have a bad day too, but...
It's mainly down to Dallas not playing well and Golden State just doing whatever. It's like Dallas easily could be up 2-1 right now.
Yeah, they easily could.
The fact that Golden State's up 3-0 mainly just shows just how bad Dallas is playing. It's not showing how good Golden State's playing a lot of the time. Yes, sorry. For like Game 1, Golden State shot really well. Game 2 shot really well. But they weren't, like you said, in Game 2, they were not winning that game. They should have lost that game. Instead, they ended up, because Dallas forgot how to only scored 3 points for almost the entirety of the third quarter. That basically amounted to Golden State making a comeback.
Yeah.
Otherwise, this series is the series is closer or Dallas is winning.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of people kind of, why are we getting so many blowouts? This really hasn't happened before. Some people saying, is it because everyone shoots a bunch of threes now?
No.
Is it because of the scheduling and people are just tired and injured? Which, I mean, that could be a fact. I think it's a little bit of everything, personally. Yeah. I mean, you get some, like Dallas. Dallas shoots 30, 35, 40 threes a game. When they're on fire, they're on fire.
Yep.
When they're off, they're off. And you get games like that. But Boston, Miami really doesn't make any sense why it's so many blowouts. But turnovers, injuries, everything under the sun, that'll do it to you.
Mm-hmm.
But that takes us into our game tonight. Game 4 of the Western Conference Finals. Golden State taking on Dallas, and Dallas is a 1.5-point favorite. So, I mean, I'll give them that. Vegas believes in them for some reason. But no Otto Porter Jr. tonight. He got injured in Game 3. Still no Gary Payton for the Warriors, and, of course, no Andre Iguodala. Dallas, you're at about as full strength as you're going to be. Still no new injuries there for the Mavs. I hope the Mavs win, but, man, I'm expecting to get beat by 15 or 20. I have no hope left for Dallas to do anything. I'll root for them. I'll cheer them on. I still believe
Here's the thing.
That if they can win a game, anything can happen, but I just don't see it.
Here's the thing. I'll be generous and say they avoid a sweep. That's a big if right there. I think they win. I think they'll win tonight, but they'll get murdered in Frisco on Game 5. I don't think they'll be able to keep going.
Yeah, I mean,
it's either they get beat, either they get swept tonight, or they get a gentleman's sweep.
Yeah, it's one of the two. They're almost done. Unfortunately for me, it is about that time for Dallas to face reality. You beat Utah, you beat Phoenix. now you see what a real contender looks like in Golden State. A team that is good at every position. Someone is good at everything on that team. You have Steph Curry, amazing point guard, great three-point shooter. Klay Thompson, good three-point shooter, good defense. Andrew Wiggins, kind of a Swiss Army knife. Same with Draymond Green. Wiggins a bit more rebounding and Draymond a bit more defense. And then Kevon Looney, who's just there for defense and rebounding, doesn't really need to be an offensive threat, but can be.
I'll be honest. Overall, this series, the Golden State hasn't been great at all those things. The issue is
they haven't been, and they don't need to be.
It's mainly because Dallas is not playing well. That's what's killing it. Like Dallas should be, like we said, Dallas should be either winning this series or it should be 2-1 Golden State. Instead, it's 3-0, which basically you're probably going to go into a sweep. But basically, Dallas might just pretty much give up at this point.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's mainly just down, like, they're not playing well. And overall, besides the first playoff series, Golden State hasn't really played well.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't really play well in the second half of Memphis. Every once in a while, they turn back into their usual selves, and then they kind of look like they did against Memphis.
This is one thing, is that if Golden State goes into playing Boston or Miami, those teams are going to rough them up because Miami will take advantage of turnovers if they can force some.
Yeah.
Boston is just really good at scoring because with Tatum and company just being really good.
Mm-hmm.
So that's I know where it's like I know earlier you said if Golden State goes in they'll beat Miami or Boston. I'm like I don't think so.
I think they'll rough whoever up.
I think the Eastern Conference I think whoever wins the Eastern Conference Finals, if it's Boston, I think they'll be heavily favored. But if it's Miami, I think it'll probably be more even. Because obviously you're mainly relying on Butler to carry the team.
Yeah.
But obviously that just depends. But we'll see when we get there.
Yeah, we'll see when we get there.
But right now we'll just move on to Celtics and Heat.
Yeah, we'll talk about that when we get to it. But Game 5 in Miami tomorrow night at 7:30. Heat are underdogs in this game.
I understandable.
Yeah, Boston, 1.5-point favorites in this one. Robert Williams, day-to-day. Marcus Smart, day-to-day for the Celtics. I expect both of them to play in that game.
And I pretty much, probably except for Kyle Lowry, I expect everyone else to play for the
Heat. Yeah, I could see Lowry playing. It wouldn't surprise me if everyone comes in and plays.
At least would do something. Because they need, like, obviously the last series, Miami didn't need him. They actually looked better without him.
Yeah.
But this series, they need all the help they can get.
Yes.
Because you can't rely on Jimmy Butler to go God mode, and even when he does, it's still not enough. Because everyone else has got to also shoot well. You got to rely on Tyler Hero to come off the bench and shoot well. You got to rely on pretty much your starters just to at least give you at most double-digit points.
Yeah.
At least around averaging like 13 or 14 just to help out. You expect Butler to score like over 30 to 40 points, but everyone else has got to average 15 or more as a team.
Yeah. But I honestly, this is just a flip a coin game for me.
Yeah.
Where I think Miami will get the win because that's how the series is going.
Yeah.
They win Game 1, they win Game 3. I think they'll win Game 5. I have no evidence to go off this. I think Miami wins this one.
I think
I could see it going either way, but I think Miami gets the job done.
It's like as much as I want. It's like out of both teams, I'm not really a fan of either. But it's like I think Boston will take Game 5 from them.
Mm-hmm.
That I just think they'll go up 3-2, and who knows what happens in Boston.
Yeah, I mean you never know when you get this late in the year, and I mean that's a good thing usually. You never really know what's going to happen. And then moving on to the NHL, where truly no one knows what anything is going on in this league.
Nope.
Because we go back to Thursday night, Tampa Bay, Florida. We were talking about if Tampa Bay wins Game 2, it's probably a sweep. It's over. Well, what a shocker. Tampa Bay wins 2-1, and that series got a little more interesting once it went back to Tampa.
Once we get back to Game 4, I'm going to pretty much kind of talk about just how bad Florida played.
Yeah, and then Game 2, Blues and Avs. Blues get a 4-1 win there. Blues even the series up 1-1, something no one really expected. St. Louis winning at Colorado for the first time ever in the playoffs. Never happened before. You get to Friday's games, the Rangers get beat by the Canes once again 2-0. Carolina just invincible at home. They cannot lose at home. And then Edmonton, Calgary, the Battle of Alberta rages on. 5-3 Oilers get the win over the Flames.
It's been one heck of a series.
It really has. It has been such a fun series. It always is. And then Game 3, Colorado, St. Louis. And my goodness, this one was... I'll just describe the first 10 minutes of this game as the most mad I've been at a hockey game in a long time. Jordan Bennington getting injured really irritates me. Just that entire sequence irritates me. I know it was accidental. I know Kadri didn't mean anything with that whole sequence, but it's the fact that it was him of all people is the most like Colorado thing imaginable, considering how last year went with them. I was just like, are you kidding me? It was him again? And I was at that point I was like, you know what? Can we just sacrifice someone to go hit him? Can we just sacrifice, like, box him the entire game? Just someone just absolutely just beat him up. Like, I mean,
you could do that.
It was irritating for me. I'll just say that because I know it was accidental. But at the same time, I was like, please, penalty. I would like one penalty, please.
No.
Our starting goalie is now injured, and this series is now over because Ville Husso cannot win an important game to save his life. That's why we pulled him in the first place. And so Husso comes in. Colorado decides they want to turn it up a notch, and they win 5-2. Then you get the Sunday tripleheader. Tampa Bay turned back into Tampa Bay. They get a 5-1 win over Florida. That series goes to 3-0. New York gets a 3-1 win. They just bully Carolina up at the Garden. 3-1 win for the Rangers. That makes it a 2-1 series in favor of the Canes. And Calgary, Edmonton going off at home. A 4-1 win over Calgary. 2-1 series in favor of the Oilers. You get to Monday, Florida. Man, they tried their hardest to do anything. They outshot the Bolts by nearly 20 shots. And they still got beat 2-0.
In that entire series, they got outscored 13-3.
Yes.
And got bullied by Tampa.
Yes, it was hilarious.
And it was like, all right, you finally got out of the first round, Florida. Oh, by the way, here's a sweep out of the second. The NHL gods are not thankful to you.
Yeah, it was like, oh, you won your first playoff series since the 90s. Here's Tampa.
Here's the President's Trophy curse.
Yeah, here Tampa. Here's the two-time defending champions. You get no sympathy. Beat them. And you have a shot, and of course, it didn't happen.
Ever since that first game, I think, is what pretty much set the tone for this series. Getting beat 4-1.
Yeah,
that is what killed Florida right there. Florida, I don't know what happened. It's like the Capitals, yes, got beat four games to 2.
Yeah,
but they would put up a better fight than Florida. They maybe whether they get swept or they at least win a game or two, but it's like. Capitals would at least try to make the game more interesting. Instead, Florida didn't look like they wanted to be in that series. Tampa was just too much for them.
I mean, the funniest thing about that not wanting to be there, there were photos that surfaced of the Panthers players literally partying at Tampa nightclubs at like 3 a.m. the day of Game 4. And they're out partying like they won the series. It was like, you're down 0-3. What are you doing?
I think they just quit caring.
I think they're ready for 1-2-3 Cancun at this point. And Tampa delivered it to them. And then Game 4, Colorado, St. Louis. This was a game. Things happened in it. I was very happy and then sad and then happy and then sad. St. Louis gets the first goal of the game. And once again, fun fact, St. Louis has had a 1-0 lead in every game this series. They have always struck first. And then Colorado immediately responds and keeps responding. And you score, 4 goals in like 3 minutes or something like that?
Yes.
They get a 4-1 lead. Blues get back-to-back power plays. They get 2 goals to close out the second period. It's 4-3. The energy's back in the Enterprise Center. Everything is looking like okay.
And then 2 more goals.
If they can just hold on, and keep in mind also Kadri gets decked by David Perron and nearly starts an entire brawl. And David Perron, of course, getting fined $5,000, the most allowed. And boy, that series, this is how fast the series could turn. Colorado comes right back out, scores 2 goals. This game's done. And it's 6-3. Colorado gets the win, going back to Denver. And, man, all I got to say is if Jordan Bennington's here, this is a completely different series. I don't know if Colorado wins.
I think Colorado still
both games.
I think Colorado still wins both the games.
I think they lose game 3. I honestly think they get beat in game 3.
Yeah.
I think it's 2-2 going back to Colorado. Blues have an opportunity to maybe lose in 7 or something like that. But
once again, it's Matt. Just Bennington's just got to like how many goals does he give up? That's mainly just a.
He hadn't given up more than 2 in regulation in any game. The only time he gave up 3 was OT. But nothing I could say about it now. Maybe we'll see Charles Lindgren, the AHL goalie, in the Blues tradition of bringing up AHL people for playoff games because we were so injured. And now kind of healthy, kind of not. Gain everybody back, lose your goalie.
Yep.
Just Blues things. That's all I can say about that. That's truly where we are. That I just can't wrap my head around it. I really can't. But that's enough of me complaining. Moving on to tonight's games, 6 o'clock, just about to get underway in New York. Carolina taking on the Rangers. Rangers are favored in this one. Not a whole lot of injuries for either side. Should be a pretty good one. I think New York takes it purely because Carolina's inability to win on the road is something they have not proven they can do yet, and so I will pick against them until they can prove me wrong.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Rangers will even up 2-2, and this will probably end up going to Game 7 the way things are
this is going to be the Boston series again if you're Carolina. This is going to be another hard-fought series that goes to 7, and the home team goes 7-0. Would not surprise me if that happens. Flames-Oilers, Battle of Alberta, game number 4 tonight at 8:30 on ESPN. Once again, not a whole lot of injuries. Oilers are favored in this one, and for good reason. They've won the last 2. They have momentum. They've been roughing up the Flames. Connor McDavid exists.
Yep.
That's probably one of the biggest reasons. You have probably the best player in hockey on your team. And I'll take the Oilers. They're playing great right now. They're at home. They've got momentum. They've got everything going.
After what happened in game.
Yeah, after what happened.
After what happened in Game 3, I believe Edmonton's going to rough them up.
Yes, I expect the Oilers to make this a not bloody affair, but I mean as close to a brawl as you can.
They'll be out for blood.
Yeah, they will make it an old-fashioned hockey game, let's say.
And and Edmonton will go up 3-1.
Yeah, and then Edmonton will go up 3-1, and we'll see what happens there. Blues Avalanche tomorrow, Game 5. Colorado favored in this one. I mean, not surprised there. St. Louis will more than likely get beat unless they get a miracle or start Lindgren. I don't know. Anything could happen. I think Colorado will win this game, and that'll be it for the Blues. And Colorado will await either Calgary or Edmonton, and we'll see from there.
Yeah, I think that's what's going to happen. Avalanche are going to just take the series, put the Blues out of their misery.
But moving on, finally, to something a little bit different. The Big 12 baseball tournament.
Yay.
It starts tomorrow in Arlington.
Sadly, it's not
at 9 a.m.
Sadly, not in Bricktown.
Yeah, not in Bricktown. A little disappointed by that. Something we went to last year. But, wow, that was like 5 seconds of me not even getting a word out. I've been sick the past few days. I think I've never had that happen where I just can't say words for like 5 to 10 seconds. It just kind of, that's about what happened there. And so I understand why it's in Arlington. I understand that. I wish it wasn't, but when you got a new ballpark, you want to show it off. Texas and Oklahoma State will start the day at 9 a.m. on ESPNU.
Yeah.
Is the 4-5 matchup. And then TCU Baylor is the 1-8 at 12:30. Kansas State, Texas Tech at 4 o'clock, the 2 versus 7. And Oklahoma, West Virginia at 7:30 p.m. that night. And every game that's not Texas OSU is on ESPN Plus for a long time.
And not until championship game.
Yeah, all the way till championship Sunday at 5.
They had to pick it. They picked one game for us to. They had to pick one game to put on national television, and they chose. I'm glad Oklahoma State's on national television, but it's a 9 a.m. game.
Yeah, I mean, you got to get up bright and early if you want to watch Big 12 baseball, I guess. You got to do what you got to do. But I think it'll be a fun tournament, as it always is. I never know who's going to win this thing.
No
one ever does.
No, because it don't matter how good you did in the regular season, because you can easily get your comeuppance.
Yeah, it is always a fun time in that, and you never really know what's truly going to happen. So that is just something I wanted to bring up. Just woo, it's here. We're almost to baseball postseason in college.
Well, we technically are in postseason.
The real postseason. This is a postseason. But it is time to talk a little bit about college softball and the wild, wacky, wonderful, chaotic week it had. Regionals are, of course, bopping along as you would expect. They're all over now. I want to talk about this because this made me happy. This is the only good thing that has happened for my teams for a while. So Oklahoma does their thing. They beat Prairie View 14-0 in the Norman Regional. What a shocker. Number one team does number one things. They play Texas A&M. A little bit closer of a game than a lot of people expected, 3-2. But in the sixth inning, Texas A&M hits a 2-run home run. And they're can't remember the name of the person who did it. But whoever hits the home run stomps on home plate. Was walking like this, and boom, stomps on home plate. Oklahoma won 20-0 the next time they played them. So if you don't think they were fired up about that, yeah, they probably were. I know a lot of OU people were upset about how it's okay, I guess you can do that, but be prepared for what's going to happen. You woke them up, and what a shocker. When you wake Oklahoma up and you make them motivated, they'll win 20-0. That's just a thing they can do.
When A&M's pitching decides not to work, and pretty much everything that went wrong for A&M went wrong.
Yeah, I mean, they gave up 5 runs, and their pitcher just pulled herself out of the game, just straight up walked off the mound, which was incredible. I'd never seen that happen before in my life. Their coach got fired right after the game, who had been there 26 years.
Jesus.
And we broke their program, so woohoo. OU is 1 for 1 on breaking A&M schools this year that are from the state of Texas and wear maroons. So hooray. This is a very specific stat. You're welcome. But we got to talk about another maroon A&M school, not from Texas, that did well. Mississippi State stuns the world and upsets a favorite to win the national title in a lot of people's eyes. The number 2 team in the country, Florida State, gone.
So we finally have some different parity going on.
Yes, it is a new day in college softball.
And I like it how Mississippi State lost the first game and had to basically battle their way through the loser side of the bracket just to go and basically played 4 or 5 games just to win the regional. That's astonishing.
They had to go up against Georgina Corick of South Florida, one of the best pitchers in the NCAA this year. Lose that game 4-0. Beat Howard. Beat South Florida, who did not throw Corick that game because she was dealing with back spasms. And they beat that team. They play Florida State. They win 5-0. Florida State's best pitcher, Catherine Sandercock, she gets injured. Mississippi State plays them again. She comes back for the save. Sandercock is back. Their ace is back on the mound. They're up 3-1. Gives up 3 runs in 8 pitches. Mississippi State wins 4-3. Place is stunned. They pull her. They don't pull her. She gets better as the game goes on. But Mississippi State, for the first time in program history, will host a super regional. Truly amazing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm not going to go too much into detail on some of these other ones. Oh, man. I am. Like I said, I'm sick. It is not a good time being sick. Virginia Tech, they win their Blacksburg Regional. They did get some trouble from Kentucky, but it sets up a nice super regional with Florida, who had a pretty uneventful regional.
No,
There's a lot of rain.
Yeah.
That's about it. There's really nothing else to say. Florida versus the rain is still undefeated.
Yeah.
It always will be. Nothing else really to say there.
UCF also went through their regional and pretty much beat up everyone.
I mean, the 11-inning game with Michigan was really entertaining. I enjoyed that a lot. But then they clobber Michigan in the second game. So we will get OU-UCF.
That's going to be a fun one.
The Battle of Dylan Gabriel. We'll talk a little bit more about this on our Thursday show. Yes, the Battle of Dylan Gabriel. It'll be wonderful. I already think you should throw out the first pitch for Game 1. He better be there. It'll be
I think
great.
he's going to do that.
He should. You should get him to show up and fight Mackenzie Milton at halftime. It'll be the equivalent of halftime, like the midway through the fourth inning. It'd be wonderful.
Ooh, I hit the mic.
Yeah, don't hit the mic. Or do. I don't care. It's not my stuff. Just kidding. I do care. And then another big stunner, Stanford upsets Alabama.
Like you said, Alabama a bit overrated.
Alabama was overrated. They couldn't hit. And
I like how the game Stanford beat them in. It was each 6-0.
yeah, it is a nice little touch they did. But Stanford's got a new thingy, a new gimmick. They have these pink cowboy hats that they wear that are called Ushka hats. Because Ushka, as I learned, is a real word. You can look it up in a dictionary, and it means like something about positivity or something like that. And Alabama did not let them bring their hats into the ballpark with them because it's considered a prop and not actually a real thing. So what they did is they took their Gatorade cups and made Ushka hats with the Gatorade cups. And then they beat Alabama. And Alabama, I would also want to point out, since Super Regionals became a thing in college softball, Alabama had made it to every single Super Regional. They're the only team in the NCAA to ever do that. That streak is over now by the power of Ushka. So thank you, Stanford, for giving us a very funny meme. We all appreciate it. And speaking of funny memes, Oregon State, the best OSU in this regional. They beat Ohio State twice. And then they upset Tennessee back-to-back. I told you about Tennessee. I know we talked about it. They lost to James Madison last year. Oregon State does it now. The Vols are starting to get a bit of a problem where they can't get out of their own regional. You do it once, shame on me. You do it twice, something's wrong. Come on, guys.
And they've been doing
it again.
They've been doing it for quite a while.
They really have. Arizona State, Northwestern. If you liked runs, the Tempe Regional is for you. Arizona State beat San Diego State 11-8. Like 25 combined hits. It was wonderful. I watched that entire game. It was great. Northwestern, really not a whole lot going on here. The big story was McNeese State absolutely clobbering Notre Dame and then getting clobbered and then beating Notre Dame again.
And then get clobbered again.
And then they got clobbered again. McNeese State, a lot of runs, either for them or against them. Yep. One of the two is going to happen. So Arizona State will play Northwestern out at Tempe. Stanford will host Oregon State.
Okay, I was actually about to say, is like, who's hosting for that one?
Yep, Stanford will get the host there.
Alrighty.
And the next two to talk about, UCLA, they just kind of ran unopposed through their Los Angeles Regional. Yeah. No one really giving them a challenge at all. What a shocker there. Yeah. Duke had a bit of a struggle with Georgia. They did have to go to a Game 7, but
Georgia's a solid team.
Georgia is a solid team, but Duke got revenge for last year, took care of business, and beat them in a Game 7. They will go to UCLA for a Super Regional. Oklahoma State, not a whole lot of problems in their regional. They took care of business against Fordham, Nebraska. North Texas gave them a scare for a while, but Oklahoma State was able to limit any damage, only gave up 2 hits. It was just who was going to do anything.
Yeah.
It took until the 6th inning, but hey, sometimes you got those games. And then Clemson, keep in mind, 3rd year of their program ever. First year was the COVID year.
Yep.
Second year, they get a regional. They could not get to a super. First ever super regional in program history. But their first ever home regional, and it was already sold out. It was already overflowing. They built this ballpark 2 years ago, and they already need to expand it.
Well, that's kind of what happens when you're really one of the better teams in South Carolina. When you're the best as a university, you're the best in South Carolina.
Yeah, that is exactly what will happen.
And also, it's like Clemson does get a lot of support.
They do. They really do. They take care of business, shut everybody out, whether it be Wilmington, whether it be Auburn, whether it be Louisiana. They beat up everybody. Now they go to Stillwater to take on Oklahoma State. And then Arkansas, this was a regional that a lot of people thought was going to have a lot of home runs in. It was going to be great. Not a whole lot of scoring, like crazy scoring. We got our 6s and 7s and 8s and 9s. People were like, oh, this is good. We're going to get a 15, 14. It's like, that's not going to happen. I would love to see that happen.
That'd be fun, but that's
It'd be great, but that's not what softball is yet. Maybe one day it'll get there. You never know.
You just bring the fences even.
Yeah,
even
just
more.
5-foot fence. There we go. Every game is everything's a home run. But Arkansas gets through their regional, no big problems there. Texas, they did it. They had a better RPI than Washington and UCF. They felt they were slighted. They used that anger, and they hammer Washington the first time they play them 8-2. Huskies get them back a 2-1 game. And we go to a Game 7. Washington was able to do this last year where they got out of it, but this time Texas sends one of the best defensive teams and one of the best pitchers in the country home. So Texas got to prove their point. They do get to go to a super regional. We get an old Southwest Conference matchup when Arkansas plays Texas in Fayetteville.
Mm-hmm.
And then another funny regional, Arizona, the last team in, worst team in the Pac-12. Doesn't matter. It's Arizona. When you think of college softball, you think of Arizona. They go on this giant run, and they upset Missouri, and then they upset Missouri again. Arizona's pitching was a problem all year. Well, let's just hold everyone to 0, a 3, whatever.
Defense playing well, and pitching doing well.
So Arizona, like we said, gets to go to Mississippi State. So it has been a wild time in college softball, and it'll get even crazier. It always does.
You just want to kind of just predict who you think is going to make it to the World Series?
We can do that on the Thursday show because Super Regionals will not start until Thursday night.
Alrighty.
We don't get anything going on there, but
I was just asking. I wasn't saying do it tonight.
Oh, yeah, I understand. It is a weird thing. Some start on Thursday, some are on Friday. They're all staggered about. But
I think it's probably so they don't run into each other.
Yeah, but speaking of Thursday's show, that is when we will see you next, ladies and gentlemen. It has been a fun time, as always, on this show. Going to talk about whatever, whether it be baseball, softball, football, anything, basketball, hockey. It's always a fun time. So if you enjoyed what you heard tonight, please do not be afraid to subscribe to our YouTube channel, whether it be the NWTV7 YouTube channel, whether it be the Guys Who Stare at Stats, our new YouTube channel exclusively for this show. The link to that is in the description in Twitch chat. If you want to click on that and then click the subscribe button there. If you loved it, if you like it, you want to hear more, you can give us a follow here on Twitch. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, even Spotify. We have nearly every social media platform. Just search for NWTV7 and we will be there. So for Connor Gray, I'm Cade Kennedy. Hopefully we will not be coughing up a storm on the next episode. But until next time, stay safe, everybody.